What's up, everyone? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and I want to talk a little bit about Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout 4. So it's going to be kind of a broad spectrum here. It's not going to really touch on too many little individual pieces and all. There will be one or two little tiny ones in there, but it's more the broad focus over the whole thing anyway. So we'll start this off with the fact that last night I turned on Fallout 3 on my Xbox One using the 360 backwards compatibility. I wanted to just mess around with it, see how it played out, see how it held up to this day and all as well. Simply because I had it downloaded and it was there and it was ready and all. And trying to play it on Windows 7 with the PC version is not the most fun thing in the world. I know it can be done, but there's so many glitches and bugs and problems with it, as well as it just kind of didn't really seem worth it at the time. So anyway, like I said, I was starting playing all through Fallout on the Xbox. I loaded up my file, had it all on the cloud with all the DLCs downloaded up, exactly where I left off. Everything was completely finished. I had all the quests done. I had all the DLCs done. I have all the what do you call them? All the all the achievements. That was it. That's the word I'm looking for. And I had all of that done. I had an excellent set of armor, excellent set of weapons. Was absolutely loving it. Absolutely loving it. So, fun fact actually, before I go any further, I decided I'd randomly test out the streaming. I was streaming to YouTube at the time, and it wasn't a highly publicized thing or anything like that. And I literally just renamed the stream and put it on. The very first time I was testing it out, while I was actually recording this footage as well, I actually forgot to reconfigure my sound settings. Now, I did mention in the video title that there would be no commentary because I didn't plan on having any commentary or anything like that. But I forgot to reconfigure my sound settings. So my sound was passing out to my surround sound, but not through my streamer. So there was no sound, and I completely forgot about that. Someone actually joined and mentioned it at one point, and they mentioned that they like my videos, blah blah blah. And then at one point they said there's no audio, by the way. Now I didn't really notice that at the time. The way I have my room set up with the computer and the actual TV and all, I wasn't looking over at it, mainly because I didn't really plan on any of that stuff. I just wanted to see if the stream would work properly and the quality of it and all that. So yeah, that's beside the point anyway. Fun fact, I tried it again later on after I reconfigured the settings, and it worked. So everything worked really well in the end. Anyway, back to the main point at hand, because I'm kind of getting a little bit off topic right now. So when I was playing Fallout 3, now Fallout 3 obviously released in 2008, it was million years ago at this point, long time ago. And the thing about it is that so much of it sticks to my mind in Fallout 3. Now, the fact that there was so few big open world games done so well at the time back then, when you look at it realistically, all we had on that generation beforehand in that kind of style, not just Bethesda games, but just in general, really all that we had was basically Oblivion. That was it. Before Fallout 3, it was just basically Oblivion. Now, I know you can go back to Morrowind and all that, but I'm talking Xbox 360, PS3 gen era even, as well as obviously counting was on the PC at the time. But the main one you were looking at back then was not Oblivion. Oblivion and Fallout essentially. And the amount of time and just the amount of time you spend in awe about how new and how amazing all that kind of stuff and all was, that type of gameplay and all, the width and breadth of the characters, the depth of the characters, the depth of their stories and the side quests and all as well as the sheer amount of, I won't call it customizable, but the many different types and variations of weapons, of armor, especially the perks and all as well. When you're talking about a Fallout game, you have all your perks as well, so that all played a big part of it. Fast forward a little bit to Fallout New Vegas. Now, Fallout New Vegas wasn't actually made by Bethesda. It was made by Obsidian for Bethesda. And the thing that's really strange about this is a lot of people, arguably myself included, I go back and forth in some ways and many ways, and some other ways I don't. But many people actually argue that New Vegas is better than Fallout 3. Now, having gone and played a little bit of Fallout 3 again, remembering all the stuff, remembering a lot of the stuff that happened, still fresh in my mind, even after all this time. It was so vivid and important at the time. Remembering all of that, comparing it to what was in Fallout New Vegas. Now, last time I played New Vegas was last year. I played Fallout New Vegas it was May of last year. Funny enough, it was actually in around the time of the actual Fallout 4 announcement. I think I'd been playing it for like 2 or 3 weeks before that, and then they announced Fallout 4. I thought it was perfect. So, yeah, Fallout New Vegas is definitely a lot fresher in my mind because I played it 6-7 months ago rather than 6-7 years ago. Even remembering is a whole different story. And once you remember all of that and you compare Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, and then obviously more recently, be it last year in November, or if you've just come back to it like I just have after a little bit of a break, Fallout 4, you actually notice that we all have our usual opinions, myself included. A lot of people think Fallout 4 was nowhere near as good as Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas in many ways. It was dumbed down to incorporate too many other small mechanics and stuff, as well as a bunch of stuff that was dumbed down simply to what felt like make the game more accessible, essentially selling them more copies, which obviously is what they want. But yeah, the common theory out there is that, well, I shouldn't say theory, it's more the common belief is that Fallout 4 is a good game, it's just not a good Fallout game. To an extent I believe it, and to an extent I agree with it. So just looking back and thinking Fallout 3, and then you go forward to Fallout New Vegas, and then forward to Fallout 4 again. When you look at New Vegas did so much of it right. It improved on a lot of the systems in Fallout 3. So it improved on so many of those. It did kind of, how would you say it? It incorporated its own ideas in a few ways as well. Some of them were decent, some of them were not so great at the time. I'm usually a big no-no in my book is, say, faction armor, to the extent that it like hides your reputation and all that. For example, if you put on Caesar's Legion armor in Fallout New Vegas, the NCR will attack you, the Brotherhood of Steel will attack you, all that kind of stuff. And again, it's the same way if you put on the Brotherhood of Steel armor, you're recognized as Brotherhood of Steel. You can't go certain places before taking off the armor and all that. I'm not a big fan of that whole thing. Reputation isn't too bad if done right, but at the same time, I'm not a fan of the whole armor / disguise aspect of it. But what do I know? That's just my opinion. Maybe tons of people out there loved it, maybe some of them didn't. But even playing, like I said, even after playing New Vegas so recently, and then going back and comparing it to Fallout 3 and obviously Fallout 4 as well, it really makes you remember how much more immersive they felt. Now, I don't really like using the terms immersion and immersive and all, but I know it's just when I played Fallout 3 for the first time, I was completely blown away. It was phenomenal to me, simply because I had played all the Fallout games before, and I played Fallout 1, I played Fallout 2, I played Fallout Tactics. And I had played, Daggerfall, Arena, Morrowind, Oblivion. I almost said Skyrim. Oblivion as well. And then to get a new version of Fallout in Oblivion-style gameplay, Oblivion-style engine and graphics, that was a big deal. And I think that's a lot of that is why it stuck with me for so long, as well as just how big and immense it felt at the time, how much of an undertaking to play and how much time you could actually get out of it. It was just unreal. And the same thing happened with Fallout New Vegas. Now, what actually happened for me was I started playing Fallout New Vegas when it first came out on the Xbox 360, and the game is almost legendary for being how broken it was. It's no Batman Arkham Knight PC version, yeah, of course, but it's very well known for how broken it was and just how much of a glitch fest it was. So I was playing it for a couple of days anyway, and I got to the point where I got too frustrated with all the bugs. They were happening all too often. It was the stupidest shit. Constantly freeze during loading times. Eventually, it actually froze during after I had just zoned into a new area, and it actually froze while it was auto-saving. And because of that, it corrupted my save file. and I had to start over. And at that point, I said, fuck this, I'm done for a while. So I eventually came back to it a couple of months later after I had read a lot of the stuff had been patched and fixed and all, and that they were just about to start adding the DLC. So I figured now would probably be a good time. Now remember, this is all way back in the day when it first came out. This isn't even including my recent playthrough of it last year. So this is all my first impressions kind of thing, but anyway. And going back and actually playing through Fallout New Vegas properly for the first time, which was several months after the original release because of all the glitches and all that, and once they were, for the majority of the time, fixed at least anyway, it felt very, like I said earlier in the video, it felt very Fallout 3-esque. And it improved on so many things. It kept all the good stuff. It made some of the good stuff better. And it got some of the bad stuff and it made them good or tolerable, essentially. Like I said before as well, it did add in a couple of things I wasn't a fan of, but yeah, you can't have a perfect game. It's just that simple. And with all the factions and all, and how the story branched, and just the different levels of details of all the characters and the stories and their backstories and quests and all, it be them in part of the main quest, be them as part of the offshoots of the main quest, some of the random ones to get followers, some of the random ones in just locations you just stumble into, or just much bigger side quests that have like a big quest line that, even though they're not part of the main story and don't affect it and all, it's a significant undertaking at the same time. That's a significant investment. So when I think of all of those in both Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, and then I look to Fallout 4, and like many people, I think Fallout 4 didn't offer a lot of that. A lot of the stuff was just go here, you know, with the exception of the main quest to an extent, but even at that, there wasn't even much of an impact on the main quest at the end of it. So, I mean, when you look at Fallout 4, a lot of the stuff, it's like, I know I've said it before, that they felt like they dumbed down all the quests and all to be able to do the whole settlement, not just settlement building, but just the way all the settlements are handled, that you can get so many people, grow crops, defend them, put them between other places, other settlements and all. It felt like they had to dumb down so much of what they originally used to have in those styles just to incorporate a basic version of several other gameplay mechanics and gameplay systems. Now, I could be wrong, you know, that's just how it appears to me, at least anyway. But I know that though it felt like all the side quests and all that, they didn't really add up to anything, that they were just kind of small and short. They didn't really have any main value, obviously because of all the karma system and all. They didn't really touch on the main outcome of the game and how you were forced to progress through the main story. And one of the big ones as well is this one is a comparison between Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas together, all as one, versus Fallout 4. Now, we all know there's the whole issue with, say, a lot of people have with the speech system. So we all know in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas even, when you came up against a certain dialogue option, you could either say, like, just for example, we'll say yes, we'll say no, or if you're, depending on what they're talking about, maybe they're talking about repairing some sort of broken machinery. If your repair skill was high enough, you could maybe do it that way, or you could talk something extra out of them, you get a bit of experience, and possibly a different bit of a conversation, or a different quest outcome, maybe a different reward. And there were so many versions of that. They could be based on your main special stats like perception, intelligence, strength, endurance, blah, blah, blah. Or it could be based on your other skills as well, like, say, barter, repair, energy weapons, explosives, unarmed, survival. There's so many of all that in there. Now, in Fallout 4, it feels extremely dumbed down. It feels like it's all just based on basic speech, kind of, but your speech is just completely regulated by charisma this time. It's not regulated by anything else really, so there's no proper way to just level up your, say, speech without putting on, say, just all your points in charisma and then quickly swapping to some armor that would, say, boost all your charisma or anything like that. So it feels like there's, and on top of that actually as well, in the same vein of it, that there's no, it seems like it's just kind of percentage based at this time, because in Fallout 4 it seems like the chance you have of actually succeeding at it it changes the color of the text. So sometimes it could be light yellow, sometimes it could be dark yellow, or kind of vibrant yellow, if you will, bright yellow even. Sometimes it could be kind of orange, sometimes it could be even red. And usually the red ones are the ones you usually fail most of the time, I found. But even though you could be completely loaded up on charisma and loaded up on bonus charisma as well, you would still possibly lose that simply because it's kind of a random generated chance. So you might have a 90% chance of doing it despite your charisma being completely full, as well as boosted up with other stuff, and you could still only have possibly a 90% chance of doing it. I think that's kind of stupid as well, that the fact that they didn't really give you other ways to do a lot of the stuff. So I mean, there was no perception based bonus, there was no unarmed based bonus, it was all that kind of stuff. The same with the perks as well. When you look at Black Widow and Lady Killer, the two perks, obviously Black Widow would allow you to do, if you had a female character, you could do more damage to male NPCs, as well as open up certain dialogue conversations that usually wouldn't be available. Vice versa with Lady Killer as well. So if you had a male character, you do more damage to female characters, you'd open up new dialogue options for them. It doesn't really feel like there's anything like that in Fallout 4 as well. So it feels like the whole conversation, not just conversation, but the whole skill influence on conversation and possibilities and the branches of them all, it felt like they all just dumbed them down simply because, well, reasons at this point. That's all I can say. So that's why it brings me back to the whole thing that Fallout New Vegas, and then followed by Fallout 3, and then followed by Fallout 4, not including 1-2 Tactics or that piece of crap Brotherhood of Steel on the PS2. But yeah, it feels like Fallout New Vegas was definitely the way to go. I can't really say Fallout 4 was a disappointing game. It's by no means a bad game. It's certainly decently enjoyable, and I'm definitely enjoying getting back into it, and I look forward to all the DLC and playing it a bit more. I'm kind of at a stale point right now where I've just been going around getting all the bobbleheads, but I feel like I'm just going to go back and play a little bit more, fully upgrade all my basic armor. I have my XO1 suit, my power armor, it's all fully upgraded to the max. I just want to upgrade all my non-power armor to the top as I can make it, and that I like to wear it and all, simply because I want to be ready for all the DLC. Since I have all the bobbleheads, I'd like to bust out a couple more levels, get some perks that I actually really want. Probably take me about, I don't know, maybe 7-10 more levels to get all the perks I actually want. And then I'll be ready for the DLC, the proper DLC. I'm not really too worried about the first two, but Far Harbor is where it's really at for me. And that brings me to another point, the DLC quality of the previous two as well. You look at the DLC for Fallout 3, it was great. It was just great. You look at the DLC for New Vegas as well, same deal. Not including, when you talk about New Vegas, not including stuff like the Wasteland Survival Pack and the Raiders Pack and the Gunrunners Pack. Gunrunners Pack was actually pretty decent, actually, especially with all the new weapons and upgrades that they added. But the main chunk of the DLCs, when you're talking, say, Lonesome Road, you're talking Old World Blues, all that kind of stuff. You know, you go back to Fallout 3, you're looking at Operation Anchorage, Mothership Zeta, there's the other one in there. I know there's two more, but the main one that was in there, I was forgetting I can't remember. But either way, when you look at all that, you know, it was proper substantial feeling DLC, whereas some of the DLC, the first two DLCs at least for Fallout 4, feel very mod inspired. Now I know they have mentioned that they've been reaching out to the modding community and all, but it feels like they're not real DLCs, and that I don't know. It wasn't doing it for me. We'll see how it goes. I will completely reserve judgment until they actually come out. They could have some sort of crazy story and actually be really good in the end, but I'm just reserving judgment, and I think Far Harbor will be the first proper one that I enjoy. So overall, on the whole, anyway, I'm going to start wrapping this up. It does feel like Fallout New Vegas it may be a little retro and a little bit dated at this point, but it does feel like it's one of the more complete Fallout experiences that you can compare with, say, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and New Vegas. So if anyone's out there who's always been wondering and trying it and all as well, I definitely recommend Fallout New Vegas. I definitely recommend Fallout 3. I will recommend Fallout 4 as well. But if you haven't played New Vegas or Fallout 3, I'd say probably do that first, simply because if you've never played them and you try to play Fallout 4 first and then you go back, it may feel very dated and very archaic, although some of the systems are obviously a lot more detailed and a lot more intricate and just completely more, I hate using the word again, but completely more immersive, just because it ends up giving you something better at the end of the day. So that's where I'm going to leave it anyway. I won't even call them my recommendations or whatever, even though I used that word a few minutes ago. But that's what I'm talking about. So let me know in the comment section below your whole opinion on Fallout 3, what it did for you, those memories, those experiences. New Vegas, what did you think of it as compared to, say, Fallout 3 or as its own game? Did you like it more? Did you like it less? Did you prefer some of the systems? Do you think they refined a good formula and made it better on the whole? Or did you think it was an absolute piece of shit? Whatever it was, you let me know. Same deal with Fallout 4. What's your opinion on that versus the old games as a standalone game, as a Fallout game, or just as a game? You let me know as well. I'm definitely curious to hear all of that. So let me know all that in the comment section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitter, details in the description below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the rest of the videos in my channel.